Hello guys, welcome back. In this lecture, we'll be discussing while and do-while loops in C#. These loops allow us to keep executing a block of code as long as a specific condition remains true. They are useful when we wanna iterate based on a condition rather than a fixed number of times. To better understand the while loop, let's recreate this scene from the Squid Game. In this scene, whenever the killer doll sang, the participants could move to the red line, and as soon as she stopped singing, the participants had to stop in place. Any participant who moved when she stopped singing was eliminated by her until there were no participants left. As we mentioned, using the while loop is useful when we do not know the exact number of loops and we wanna iterate based on only a condition. In this case, the condition would be participants count greater than 0. This loop was repeated over and over until all participants were either eliminated or crossed the red line. Alright. This is the syntax of the while loop statement. This loop keeps going until the condition is true. For example, here, we have a variable called count with a value of 0. The code inside the while loop is executed only if the condition is true. Inside the loop, we display the current value of count in the terminal and then increment it by 1. This loop will continue until the count value is less than 5. As you may have noticed, this loop, like the for loop, has 3 parts: the initialization part, the condition part, and the iteration part. So, we can get the same result using a for loop. Alright, now let's move on to the do-while loop. This is the syntax of the do-while loop. This loop executes the code block first and then checks the condition. This ensures that the code block will be executed at least once, even if the initial condition is false. Okay, here's the previous example, but this time with the do-while loop. This loop begins by executing the code block, which prints the current value of count in the terminal. Afterward, it increments count by 1. This loop will continue until the count value is less than 5. In both examples, numbers from 0 to 4 are displayed in the terminal. Alright, as you can see, both while and do-while loops allow us to iterate based on a condition. However, there are some important differences to note. The main difference is that the do-while loop guarantees the execution of code block at least once, whereas the while loop does not execute at all if the condition is initially false. For example, here, if we initialize the count variable to 5 or any number that makes the condition initially false, the while loop will not print any numbers in the terminal, because it first checks the condition before executing the code block. On the other hand, the do-while loop first executes the code block and then checks the condition. So, it will print 5 in the terminal and then, after checking the condition, it stops the iteration. Okay, let's jump into VS Code and see while and do-while loops in action. Alright, let's utilize a while loop to calculate the sum of numbers from 1 to 10 and display the result in the terminal. First, let's declare a variable named sum with a value of 0 to store the result. Also, let's declare a variable named number and set it to 1. to ensure that the loop starts iterating from 1. Next, we'll use a while loop to calculate the sum of numbers from 1 to 10. The condition expression will be number less than or equal to 10. This means the loop will stop executing when number becomes greater than 10. Inside the while loop, we need to add the current value of number to the sum. Then, we increment number by 1 for the next iteration. Finally, let's display the final result in the terminal. Now, run the application to see the result. As you can see, we obtain 55 as the result. Now, let's perform the same operations using a do-while loop. Like previous example, let's declare a variable named sum2 to hold the result, and another variable named number2 to make sure that the loop starts from 1. As we mentioned, in a do-while loop, the code inside the block is executed first. After that, the condition part will be evaluated. So, we first go for do block, then while statement. Within the code block, let's add the current value of number 2 to the sum2. And then increment number 2 by 1. Then the condition expression would be number 2 less than or equal to 10. Lastly, let's display the result in the terminal. Now run the application again. As you can see, we obtain 55 as the result for both loops. Now, can you guess what happens if we change the values of number and number 2 to 11? Okay, let's run the application to find out. As you can see, we obtain 0 when using the while loop and 11 when using the do-while loop. This is because changing number and number 2 to 11 makes both condition parts initially false. In this case, since the while loop first checks the condition, the code block is not executed. Therefore, the value of sum remains its initial value, which is 0. However, the do-while loop first executes the code block. As a result, the number 2, which is 11, is added to the sum2. Then, the number 2 is incremented by 1 and becomes 12. After that, this expression is evaluated to false, and the loop stops. Finally, the value of sum2 is displayed in the terminal. Okay, done. See you soon with another lecture.